Hello, and welcome to my channel. Before I get started today, I do just want to say I just got new mics, and so I'm going to try my best to make the sound quality good, but I apologize if it's like a little weird at the beginning because I'm still trying to work out the kinks and figure out how to use these mics to the best of their abilities. With that being said, let's jump right into it because we have something super interesting to talk about today. As we know, the Winter Olympics is coming, and for me, as a hockey fan, that means I get to watch Team USA versus Team Canada. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But it's really exciting for a lot of sports fans, a lot of fans of winter sports. I would say, especially things like hockey and curling, really big winter sports at the Winter Olympics. But there has recently been a discussion about putting another, more running centered sport in the Winter Olympics. And no, I'm not talking about indoor track, I am talking about cross country. This is such an interesting discussion to me as a cross country runner, as a huge fan of European cross country. It's been so interesting to see people make the argument for why we should or shouldn't have cross country in the Winter Olympics. And I wanted to give my own 2 cents on it today. However, first I do want to actually go through the history of cross country at the Olympics, because believe it or not, it did used to be at the Olympics. It was actually in the Summer Olympics from 1912 to 1924. So that translates to a long ass time ago. It was featured in the basic Olympic athletics program for the Summer Olympics, and they had individual and team medals, so kind of resembling European cross, again, with the Spar European cross country. Literally one of my favorite running events of the whole year, honestly. I really wanted to make a video on it this year. I didn't because December is just a crazy month, but I love that, and I think that could be if this is something that we wanted to introduce to the Winter Olympics, that cross country classic, as well as the world's one, but I don't know. I like the European one a little bit better personally, just like the way it's organized and things. It could be a really good basis for seeing how we could format an Olympic cross country event, potentially in 2030 or beyond. So it is traditionally a winter sport. That's why there has been so much discussion. But like I said, it was featured in the Summer Olympics from 1912 to 1924, only a men's event because I think the Olympics were all only men's back then. So there were only a couple of iterations. And I also do want to mention that in 2020, Sebastian Coe, who's the president of World Athletics, did want to bring the sport to the Summer Olympics in Paris, but the International Olympic Committee was like, nah, not happening. So now the president of World Athletics, Sebastian Coe, is pushing for its addition in the Winter Olympics. So that's kind of where we're at currently and where we have been with cross country in the Olympics. Specifically, the goal is to have the sports included in the 2030 and 2034 Winter Olympics. 2030 is France. 2034 is, I know it's Salt Lake City. So that's kind of what kind of time frame we're looking at for the possible inclusion of cross country at the Olympics. And I know there has also been discussion because the Olympics have released some statements that don't look so hot for cross country's future at the Olympics, because they basically said we don't want it here. It's not something we're interested in. But I know World Athletics is really pushing for it, so I do just kind of want to talk about what that could look like. And like I said, I think that it would really be there's some powerful models with World Cross and with European cross country, and cross country like track and field definitely has international appeal. That's a big thing with the Olympics. They want to only have sports that are represented by many different countries. Many different countries play them, many different countries participate in them. They only want to have those sports so that the Olympics is truly an international event. And cross country definitely has that. Even small countries in Europe and smaller countries in Africa have very strong cross country talent. And there's definitely a precedent that, like track and field, cross country is an international sport. I know we call track and field the most diverse sport on earth, but I think cross country could kind of follow in those footsteps for sure. And it definitely has, especially in recent years, expanded a lot. And I know also people are kind of worried about the feasibility with it being winter because a lot of times, even though cross country is a fall/winter sport, it's not super like cold or snowy. And obviously, because skiing is a huge thing at the Winter Olympics, usually there is snow. But there have been honestly some of the most iconic cross country races in history in the snow. And I think it would be really cool for them to say, yeah, we are going to have snow. It's going to be a snowy cross course. That's what we're doing. I think that would be really cool and fun. And I honestly just think it would be great. And I also think that Olympic inclusion really could elevate cross country to the next level. Because right now, a lot of the big American track stars don't really do anything for cross country. A lot of them ran it in high school and maybe in college, but they didn't really do anything with it now in their professional careers. It's a little bit different in Europe because there is such a big cross country culture, and that's something I honestly really love. I want to make a whole video explaining why I like European cross over NCAA cross and why I prefer to follow that. But huge track stars from Europe like Nadia Battacletti and Jimmy Gressier also heavily compete on the cross country circuit and appear at European cross country meets. And I think that that is something that is like could help that culture build elsewhere, especially in the United States, maybe in African nations, and just across the world in general. I would also be interested to see some of my favorite Asian distance runners from China and Japan and Taiwan kind of experiment with cross country as well, because I feel like that is something we absolutely just hands down never see. At the World Cross, maybe, but even then, I feel like Asia's presence in World Cross is very minimal. And so it would be nice to see it elevated. And I think that could have the potential to happen if we did indeed have its inclusion in the Olympics. So I think cross country overall would just be great. And I also think it would kind of dull the noise about, oh, we want indoor track in the Winter Olympics. I'm just going to say no. Like, I'm not a fan of that idea at all. I think winter track has its time and its place, but I don't agree with trying to insert track and field into everything. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's would work out. I just don't feel like it's feasible because let's face it, indoor is training for outdoor. Like that is what 99.9% of athletes use it for, and it would be kind of strange to have it in the Olympics in my opinion. Maybe if the sport gets a lot bigger and indoor becomes more competitive, but right now, I just feel like it's not at that gritty, competitive level that you really want. Not like cross country is, where there's cross country specialists, there's big stars who run it and race it and really put their all into it. And I feel like that's what you need as a foundation. Big stars who want to put their all into this in order to make a new Olympic sport succeed. And I feel like cross country already has a great basis for that, especially in Europe. And I think it would also be great to, like I said, build the culture, especially here in the United States. Like, I want to see people representing their nations. I want to see the grit and the tenacity that comes with that. And I do want to see some form of athletics, some form of running in the Winter Olympics. And I think that cross country would be the perfect midpoint addition where it's not becoming repetitive and it's not uncompetitive, but it's also just really gritty, and it also just showcases more of what the Winter Olympics are all about. Because for me, the Winter Olympics are super gritty. They're all about, kind of humans like triumphing in these harsh environments, kind of triumphing over their environment. New countries tend to shine through, especially European countries. I feel like they are historically super strong in the Winter Olympics, and they're also historically super strong in cross country. It just makes sense. Now, I know there has been, like I said, a lot of negative press saying that basically the Olympic Committee is never going to say yes to this proposal. But in my opinion, it would be an absolute loss for them not to. I just think cross country would be the perfect addition to the slate of sports in the Winter Olympics in the France in 2030. But let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Would you like to see this included in the Winter Olympics in the future? Or do you think it's actually feasible? Do you think it'll happen? Let me know down below. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!